All right. Hey, everyone. My name is Jaffer, and today I'd just like to take a little bit of time and go over some pretty rudimentary things which can explain how the general model presented by the flat Earth people is just, it's, I don't want to say impossible, but I want to say it's absurd and ridiculous for the most part. And I've spent I would say the better part of the last week watching some of those videos because some of the a few of those documentaries make some very compelling arguments. In particular, there's this one which was made by an individual named Mark Sargent, and it's pretty eye-catching. It tends to sound very convincing. The narrator is very eloquent and sort of enunciates himself really well and makes it sound like he's pretty legitimate based on just the way he's sort of reciting his book or his research or whatever. And then the second documentary that I saw was made by someone named Eric Dubé, and he also makes some pretty compelling arguments. But you really should know that these are not based on very valid scientific foundations, and that you really want to steer clear of videos like those that can kind of confuse your perspective on the world we live in. And one thing that jumped out to me after watching all that stuff is how they don't really go much into explaining why there are craters all over the planet. So, why didn't they go into explaining why there are craters on the planet? So let's take a little bit of time and go into that analysis. All right, so here I have, I've typed in the word crater in Google, and I've gone over the images tab. And here, as you can see, there are a number of pictures of craters that are present all over the planet. And let's look at this first one here. Looks like this one is in northern Arizona. Let's try to make this a little bigger. All right, so you can clearly see that this crater is fairly large in size, and judging from the terrain surrounding the crater, which is largely flat, but not like flat Earth flat, but like globe flat, there probably is pretty negligible curvature all over the place. It's just not possible for the naked eye to see, but you could probably measure it using some advanced instrumentation. So as you can see, this crater is close to being circular in its shape. The reason is that as this meteorite impacted, it spread out its shock wave in every direction, roughly equally. Maybe a little bit more on this side here, but you get the idea of what it was trying to do when it impacted the Earth. And how does this prove that the Earth isn't flat and inside a dome? Well, for an object to come and impact the ground and create an imprint like this, it would first of all have to probably come at a very, very high speed. Very high speed. Let's see if we can find out some information about the depth of this thing here. Let's see, this one is northern Arizona. So they've estimated that it hit at 26,000 miles per hour, but let's not go by that for now, for the sake of argument. 1 mile across and 2.4 miles in circumference and nearly 550 feet deep. Okay. So 550 feet is quite considerable depth, and it's almost 3 miles across. So the only explanation for this to be a man-made occurrence would be is if this were some kind of a mine which had been excavated for a long period of time. And the reason why I think that is not true is because if there was some kind of mining activity of this scale going on in this location, then there would be similar kinds of basically a footprint of activity that is happening around the area. Now you could argue that we can't see like the third and the fourth wall, but it would be ludicrous to think that they would take a picture of just this side, hiding like yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? So I mean this is just no flat Earth conspiracy guy will ever go into explaining why this is and how this has been artificially created and all that nonsense. So I mean, this is just it's pretty much right in your face that something came from outer space and hit this thing. And if geologists estimated that this object came in at 26,000 miles an hour, let's see. Let's try to get some idea of the speed per second of this thing here. 1,000 divided by 60, so that's 433 miles a minute and 7.2 miles a second. So, I mean, for an object to come at that high velocity, it would just have to come from outside the so-called atmosphere or the domes of the Earth, which the flat earthers say is actually what prevents objects from getting across and is below the firmament or whatever. So at 7 miles a second, it would have to really accelerate and get here in a matter of 2 or 3 seconds. So that's, I mean, maybe 4 or 5 seconds, I don't know, but that's just not the case here. It's clearly something that came from outer space. And I believe when I was going through this a little while back, I had noticed that there's a crater that, this one is about 3 miles across. There's one that is something like 100 miles across. I'm not sure if I can find it. Let's see, find out a little bit more about this one here. Now this is not specific information to that crater. Let's look at something else. This one is different from that one. .2 kilometers in diameter, 200 meters deep. So this is roughly around comparable in size to the previous one. So let's see if we can find that one that I saw, which was 100 miles across. All right, looks like I'll have to find that one, but this is just I mean, clear evidence that this is an object that came from a distance which is well beyond the atmosphere of the Earth, and it came at a very high velocity, and the residual shape is a clear indication that this was a high impact scenario. So in my mind, this just leaves no doubt that pretty much everything that the flat Earth model alleges is impossible, and it's just cannot be. So I hope this sheds some insight and some clarification. If any of you have questions, are in the same kind of position that I was in a few days ago, but I'm glad I have declouded my mind from all the confusion. And this video is just talking about meteorites, but I would actually, if I have time, like to go into explaining some of the other fallacious arguments that those flat Earth videos make, and their narrators posit and put forward. So feel free to share this video, and if you have any questions, please write in the comment section, and I will include my email at the bottom as well. So please also feel free to write to me if you have any questions about this, or if you would like to somehow challenge this argument. All right? Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.